Really quick, my 𝗔𝗠𝗄 code is 30% off on the website right now, and you can use the link in the description to automatically apply my code at checkout. Still not convinced? Here's a picture of my cat on top of my 𝗔𝗠𝗄 shrine. Thank you, and enjoy the video. Ladies and gentlemen, the Duality dungeon dropped not too long ago, and love it or hate it, you must admit that the weapons it brings to the table reside in the A and S tiers respectively. Only a day or two ago, Bungie finally updated Destiny's API to allow us to finally see all the possible perk rolls that come on these weapons. So today, we're going to be taking a look at the Duality dungeon weapons, ranking them from best to worst, and going over their PvE god rolls. Apologies for the video being a little late, as I took 2 days to myself after hard grinding videos and Twitch streams last week, but I'm back and ready to go. So like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video today, and let's jump right into this. So first things first, as usual, we can't talk about the guns until we talk about how to get them and farm them. So massive shout out to 𝗎𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗍 the Great for creating this. Here is the Duality dungeon loot table. We won't be going over the two opulent weapons in this video, as though they're from the dungeon. I ended up bundling them together with the rest of the opulent weapon set in my previous video, so the link will be in the description if you're interested in that. Anyways, taking a look here, you'll see that the GL Lingering Dread will drop from the first encounter, both the SMG and Linear come from the second encounter, and finally the Pulse Rifle 𝗬𝗪𝗱𝗄 drops at the final boss, alongside every other drop in the dungeon. Do keep in mind that the final boss has double drops at the end of the encounter, so I usually just find myself farming that specific encounter as it doesn't take too long and just loads you up with a lot of loot. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and kick things off by talking about the weapons one by one, and since we're ranking these best to worst, I absolutely have to put the Stormchaser here at number 1. This linear fusion rifle can be summed up in a very quick manner, and that is quote, meta defining. Stormchaser is a new linear archetype as it fires a 3 burst every time it's charged, while only using 1 ammo per burst. This allows it to deal better damage than pretty much any linear in the game, with next to no effort as a result. Taking a look at the perks, it has the perfect lineup to support raw damage output. In the first column, we have great picks like 𝗕𝗏𝗡, Clown Cartridge, and Autoloading, while the second column has both Frenzy or 𝗲𝗄𝗡 for solo play, and Firing Line when playing with a group or running raids. If you're a PvE Destiny player, which you probably are if you watch my channel, this is a must-have. And not your typical YouTube clickbait must-have, no, this is a must-have if you main PvE. Don't be the guy that doesn't have this weapon by the time the next day 1 raid rolls around, or if you're in a squad running GMs, you need Stormchaser, end of discussion. Up next from Stormchaser, we have my personal favorite weapon of the dungeon, and that is the Unforgiven Void 750 SMG. Now, I want to preface my review of this weapon by saying, this gun will not feel that great unless you have a near 5 out of 5 roll. The base stats of this SMG require some love via the mags, masterwork, and barrels, but the baseline main perks that Unforgiven rocks makes that hassle worth your time. So let's do something I rarely do and take this weapon into D2 Gunsmith and discuss the stats. As you'll see right off the bat, the stability and reload behind this weapon is absolutely horrid, so you have a few options available here to correct that. Starting off with the barrels, if you're on PC, stability isn't too big of an issue for you, so I recommend just sticking with Hammer Forged as a means to bump that range up with no additions or subtractions to other stats. If you're on console, however, Small Bore will be a huge W across the board as you're going to get both 7 stability and 7 range at the same time. Moving on over to magazines, let's try and address that reload speed. As far as I'm concerned, the only magazine that's worth using here is Flared Magwell, and personally I'd pair that with a reload speed masterwork to further push that reload speed in the right direction. This would be a good play for both console and PC as the gun benefits the most on the reload front, while also getting a bonus to stability thanks to Flared Magwell. If I had to recommend a second mag that would be good here, perhaps Light Mag, as it will provide both range and reload speed, but that's mainly a PC recommendation. Luckily for us, we can get away with not speccing too much into reload thanks to the Bitterspite origin trait accelerating our reload as we take damage, so keep that in mind too. Now, stepping away from the stats and talking purely about perks, we have a few options here on how we want to roll our weapon. Firstly, you can go full on volatile round mode and roll with Demolitionist and Golden Tricorn, which is the personal roll that I want. This is basically how it works. You get a kill, which is going to give you 1 stack of Tricorn. This is 15% damage for 6 seconds. You then throw your nade, which with Demolitionist will reload your magazine. That nade then will get you a kill, which is going to give you a 2nd stack of Tricorn. This is going to boost your damage to 50% for 10 seconds. And if you're running on a Void subclass and have Echo of Instability, this will also give you volatile rounds on that grenade kill. So at that point, you have 10 seconds of 50% damage, you have volatile rounds active, and because you just threw your nade, you have a full magazine of ammo, so just go crazy and slay everything in your path. You could also go the lesser damage route here and get some higher reload by rolling with Demo and Frenzy in that final column because of that 15% damage and that extra reload speed when active, or you could make your reload reliant on kills and get rid of Demo in that first column in exchange for feeding Frenzy. In the final column, we also have Adrenaline Junkie, Rampage, Repulsor, Dragonfly. Those are all available here, and they're really not bad picks. There's many different ways to roll this weapon, so just go with what feels the best for you, as there really isn't much of a wrong answer. Now, moving on from Unforgiven, let's take a look at the newest stasis weapon to make its way into Destiny, the Lingering Dread Special Grenade Launcher. This weapon for me may have single-handedly replaced Pardon Our Dust from my arsenal, at least once I get the god roll for it. There are 2 sides to the Lingering Dread, so let's talk about them. First up, we have the offensive side, which you're seeing as gameplay in the background. This is going to allow you the luxuries of playing aggressively with a GL, while also reaping the benefits of that sweet stasis synergy thanks to the element. If you're going to use this for damage, I recommend Spike Nades, obviously, paired with Ambitious or Unrelenting, as well as Demo or Chill Clip. Now, speaking of Chill Clip, there's an interesting interaction with this perk on the weapon, as if you're going the route of Blinding Nades on this thing, which I recommend everyone does anyways, you'll be able to benefit from both the crowd control of Blinding Nades on top of freezing your enemies with Chill Clip as well. The best possible roll on this thing, in my opinion, would be Blinding Nades, Auto-Loading Holster, and Chill Clip with a Handling Masterwork. That roll is going to make Lingering Dread the ultimate tool for crowd control in this game, and it's the roll that I recommend above all else. It's something that I could see myself maining in the next day 1 raid, so I recommend getting your hands on it if you can. Finally, to end things off in today's video, we find ourselves at the New Purpose Kinetic Pulse Rifle. Now don't be fooled, just because this is the last weapon on the list doesn't mean it's bad by any means. Just like every other weapon on the list, this weapon is incredibly unique and demands your attention, so let's go over it. New Purpose is a high impact frame pulse rifle, and to my knowledge is the only weapon in the entire game that rolls adaptive munitions while in the kinetic slot. This opens up some pretty cool potential with this weapon, as running something like armor piercing rounds, perpetual motion, and adaptive munitions inside GMs could be pretty huge to deal with match game. Of course, ignoring what we just talked about, this weapon, just like stasis ones before it, of course has its stasis synergy, and Headstone is a great perk to use if you plan on doing that. Although with both of those rolls being as good as they are, definitely don't sleep on the fact that this pulse has Desperado in that final column, and that perk is fairly slept on in PvE, so I'd keep that on your radar as well. Something like Perpetual Motion Adaptive, Perpetual Motion Headstone, or Perpetual Desperado is definitely the way to go here on this pulse rifle. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for today's video. Overall, I'm extremely happy with this dungeon set, as every weapon inside Duality is just an absolute banger through and through, and I'm excited to get my hands on these rolls as soon as possible. But what did you guys think? What rolls are you chasing, or which ones do you already have your hands on? Let me know in the comments. With all that said, thank you all so much for supporting the content by watching all the way to the end. Shout out to my Patreon supporters as always for helping fund the content, and big props to my tier 2 patrons, Homebase, Onrock, Crunchwrap, 𝗏𝗡, and John, as well as my tier 3s, Neon, 𝘁𝗵𝗄, Austin, and 𝗏𝗨𝗟𝗍𝗍. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.